Stephen A., I have no idea except for an educated guess, a gut feeling. I'm going to say he's still a Washington Redskin. And I did read Jason Reed's column, and I do certainly respect these potent and sometimes stunning observations from Jason, a columnist for the Washington Post, based on his conversations and his sources within the organization. But there's some harsh observations here, and it's going to come down to whether the owner and the GM are on board with Jay Gruden's view, according to Jason Reed, of RG3. We've heard from Jay Gruden about all of his reservations about Robert as a pocket passer, his decision-making, his footwork, his ability to throw the football consistently from the pocket. But Jason Reed also points out that Jay Gruden also has major concerns about Griffin's decision-making off the field. And you and I have talked a lot about the creation of the RG3 brand. And it seems to Jay Gruden, according to Jason Reed, that Robert is more concerned about enhancing his brand than about honing his pocket passing skills. And often, I'm quoting the column here, Gruden has rolled his eyes after being informed about the life lessons that 24-year-old RG3 offers on social media. Bottom line, he wants him out. He is done with him, again, according to Jason Reed. Now, I throw this back at you, Stephen A., from our own Adam Schefter, whose perspective on this matter is that there's still a real chance, quote-unquote, real chance, that Robert will return this year to being the starting quarterback for whatever games are left, 1 or 2, 3, whatever it ends up being, the rest of this year. And that there are those in the organization, and I'm going to have to guess that maybe the owner and the GM, Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen, fall into this group, but I don't know that. But there are some, according to Adam, still in the RG3 camp. So now we're already back to Jay Gruden, the first-year head coach, versus the former franchise quarterback who's not been able to live up to being the franchise quarterback in RG3. And now they're playing, obviously, at St. Louis, and we know about the big trade and all that was given up for the Redskins to bank their future on RG3. I'm not ready to give up on him, obviously. I'm a big RG3 fan. I have expressed to you before that maybe it would be better for him to kind of clear the decks, clear the air, and start fresh somewhere else. But I'm not convinced that the owner and the GM want him to be elsewhere next year. So now, does the clock tick on the first-year head coach? Is it a him or me situation? It could be pretty quickly here.
Well, you know, Skip Bayless says that last question is very is very interesting, because that's along the lines I was thinking. I'm not going to be an advocate of Jay Gruden losing his job. It's just 1 year at the helm, and we're still waiting to see what he's capable of doing. But I definitely believe that just like the eye of the storm should be on RG3, it should also be on Jay Gruden.
Yep.
Obviously, Adam Schefter pointed out how if they wanted to get rid of RG3, why name him the number 2 quarterback as opposed to number 3? It's one of the things that was pointed out. And obviously, his perspective is to be respected because it's Adam Schefter. But the flip side to it is that I think there's entirely too much talk about Robert Griffin III, and there's not enough being talked about as it pertains to Jay Gruden. And that's my problem here, and here's why. In all likelihood, if the reports are to be believed that RG3 was about RG3 and brand RG3 and not nearly enough about the Redskins, and that he had the support of Daniel Snyder, which assisted in him alienating himself from his teammates and coaching staff, or at least a lot of them, because of the affection that he had for that Daniel Snyder had for him, Skip, then doesn't it stand to reason that the reason why Jay Gruden got this job to begin with is because he convinced Daniel Snyder that he was somebody that could work with RG3 and get RG3 elevated back to the place where he was as the Rookie of the Year? I think that makes sense. And so for me, when I hear all of this talk about what RG3 is not doing, and how Jay Gruden is done with him, I'm certainly not going to question the veracity of Jason Reed's report for the Washington Post. The dude is definitely credible, and he's been around for quite a long time, and I'm going to give my contemporaries the benefit of the doubt. But I will acknowledge that it doesn't seem to make sense to me how Gruden could have the mentality that he's done with RG3 when in fact a legitimate question should be asked whether he could get away with having such a mentality.